whatever it is that you want in life, you can pay for that if you're willing to pay for that. Unfortunately, most people aren't willing to pay for that.
Welcome to Exploring Mind and Body with Drew Taddia. Drew is an expert in nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. And he wants to help you live a healthier, longer, and more active life. Now here's your host, Drew Taddia.
Welcome to another edition of Nationally Syndicated Exploring Mind and Body. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in, for being a part of our True Form Life community. We're coming at you with a brand new show. We appreciate whether you're listening on terrestrial radio across the country or as a podcast around the world. We certainly wouldn't be here without you. So stick around. We got all that coming up.
This is Exploring Mind and Body. Naturally improve your lifestyle one show at a time with your host, Drew Taddia.
Good morning, everyone. I am excited to jump on here and share some of my most recent experiences with you. So let's get things rocking. Nashville was pretty cool. So I went to Nashville for a mastermind group, and my gosh, these things are invaluable. And it was specific to what we do. Like, it was specific to online fitness coaching. That's it. And I feel like as I share my experiences with you, hopefully you'll pull out some tips and ideas and suggestions on. The thing is, like, I'm going to get to my most valuable tip here later on, or what I took away the most, but hopefully you'll be able to take something out of what I'm sharing with you and use it in your own life. That's my goal, is that it's not like, hey, rah, I went away and you didn't. I mean, there's a lot of people traveling right now, so maybe you did, but it's not like, I'm just excited. I'm excited to share with you what I learned. I feel like, you know, like everyone that was there, they learned from a coach or they learned from a mentor. Like, everyone was learning and then retelling their story through their experience, through their vision and their eyes. And that's, you know, what's interesting is I hear from a lot of people that are like, oh, I tried, like, fitness program, for example. I've tried everything. Nothing works. And I'm like, I was just in a room with 100 people, many of them making a lot of money, much more than I'm. And everyone does something different. The deliverables are similar. Like, you have your fitness, you have your nutrition, you have your accountability, whatever that looks like, they're similar, but every single person had a different mindset, different philosophy, different teachings. So I feel like we would benefit from opening up our vision and opening up our mindset of that restriction and that lack of what's possible and what we can accomplish on our own. I mean, not on our own specifically, but what we can accomplish, like what can be accomplished. And there's so much I want to share with you. Where do I start? I feel like the first thing I want to share is, like, I watched this video, I watched this video of this guy, and he said, I thought it was so odd. Like, he said, I'll never sit in a room of millionaires. And I watched that video while I was there, and I'm like, I don't even think it's that uncommon, to be honest with you, to be a millionaire. I think, like, one of my good friends I played professional baseball with, he has a hedge fund. He has created his own hedge fund. He's investing millions of dollars every day. He's a millionaire. And in one of my messages here I'll share with you, is like, regular guy, you'd never tell. You could never tell how much money he makes, because he lives like a regular person, acts, talks, walks. It's like, I feel like we have, maybe this, I'm speaking from my experience, like, but let me take a step back. That guy's perspective of, like, sitting in a room with people who have a lot of money, like, why would you ever say that? You're just limiting your beliefs. Like, you're limiting your mindset. You're limiting your possibilities of what you can do. So I guess I could easily segue or lead into judging a book by its cover. So I'll tell you what happened. I'll tell you what happened. And I feel like that was an important one for me. Because I don't know what I was expecting. Like, I don't know what I was expecting. But when I showed up in the room, I was nervous, right? Like, I'm an introvert. And you know what I noticed about this group in particular, is that most of them, even though they were public figures, they were mostly introverts. And they were just as nervous as I was to be in a room full of highly successful people and have conversations and introduce yourself. And of course, you have the outliers, the people that, like, those with extrovert personalities, but I just thought it was super interesting that a lot of them, like, it's same thing for me. Like, put me in front of a camera, I'm good. On stage, fine. Like coaching, group coaching, individual coaching, I suppose that's a bit easier to be an introvert, but put me in a room full of strangers and I would rather crawl up in a ball and hide under the table. That's what I feel like doing. But it was very interesting because these individuals are the same way. And I think that was really important to me, and a message to share with you is that, like, entrepreneurship is lonely. Like, I cannot possibly explain how lonely it is. Like, you're often working alone, you're grinding, you're making your own decisions, you're failing, you're succeeding. And like, the failure is huge and the success is very small. And you feel like you're on an island struggling on your own. And it was so cool to be in a room of people that could relate. Like, they could tell you the exact same story they went through 3 years ago that you're going through now. And that was super interesting. And I feel like for you guys, like, whatever it is that you want to accomplish, if you want to collect more money in your life, make more money, however you say it, if you want to be fit and active, like, almost every person I talk to on the phone that's interested in our program or working with us, they all talk about, very rare do they have any other support, right? Like, I have a couple friends. I mean, I know a lot of entrepreneurs. Like, we're in the same space. I know a lot of them, but I would call a few of them my friends. So I've got a couple friends that are entrepreneurs, and I don't talk to them very often, just to be 100% honest with you. That's the same thing with when people come to us for fitness advice or fitness programs, is that, do you have support at home? Do you have a supportive spouse, family, work life? What does that look like? And most people are on an island and they feel very alone trying to figure out their way, try to find their way through the weeds, through all the nonsense programs, pills, powders, potions that certainly don't work long term, probably cause more damage in the long term, but show at any rate. So finding a group, and I've talked about this thousands of times in the past, but you find a group, and I cannot express how important that is, to find a supportive group that you resonate with, that has a goal that you're working towards, that will change your life. It will absolutely change your life. And this was the first type of group. I've been to many of, like, business conferences before, but this is the first one I went to, which was specific for online trainers and teaching and learning from people making a lot of money. So let me, at least in my perspective, so let me share this with you. There's a guy sitting there. He got up and he did an early presentation. So he was the business back end of his partner, and she was the face. And he kind of was doing his own thing. And he didn't want to be the face. He felt like he was really good at business. And he's up there doing a presentation, and, like, just a regular guy. Like, he was probably about 30 years old, I would guess. And just a regular guy. He dropped some F-bombs, which is fine. It's not my jam, but he didn't have like an expensive suit and tie on, and like he was a bit like rough around the edges, like. And this is my perspective, right? Like, I would expect someone with making a lot of money that would be up there, like, polished, probably had a speaking coach, like, really well put together. And he talked about these systems that they put in place, and they were, like, on point. They were like, wow, like, those systems, they figured it out over the years, but those systems could make anyone money. And how they package their put their packages together, how they train their clients, how they train their coaches. At any rate, you would have no idea that this guy makes $100,000 a week. Let me just let that sit there with you for a moment. $100,000 a week. And when I talk about, and like, this conversation isn't just about money. I want to tell you about my whole experience, and you'll hear, if you stick around till the end here, I want to share with you my most valuable lesson I learned, and quite honestly, it has nothing to do with money. So regular guy, you walk into him at the street, walk past them, and like, just a very dedicated, very successful business owner. They put their packages very well together, and they worked extremely hard. I thought that was interesting. So that is part of my don't judge a book by its cover, but I also want to share with you another part of that that's just slightly entertaining. So there's this guy. So this guy's sitting next to me, and he's talking about how he went out a little bit, had a couple extra drinks the other night. This is Nashville, right? Some people went out to party, some people didn't, and like, he was in rough shape. Like, I think he might have been half falling asleep, blowing his nose, like struggling to stay awake. And I sit next to him, not on purpose. I'm just sitting there, and like, I end up sitting next to him for whatever reason. And I'm like, kind of edging away from him because I don't really want to be like sneezed on, coughed on. I'm like a little bit annoyed because, like, I'm here, I'm serious about this. I went to bed early, I worked out in the morning, and this guy over here, he's like struggling with slow, painful death, like, right next to me. Anyways, I didn't really think much of him. I'm like, my gosh, this guy. can't even hold himself together. So they do awards. They do an award session. They put up. People came up there for awards that made $100,000 that year, $250,000, $500,000, and $1 million. And so every time they would give awards for each section. At any rate, he eventually it gets to the point where they call his name. And this guy gets up, this guy gets up there and he walks to the stage and he receives his award for whatever, I don't remember exactly what he made that year, but so he goes on and talks about how he started out. He was like at a gas station, he ran out of gas, he had to ask his wife to wire him $20 just so he can get home, no money. And then a number of years later, I don't know how many years later, and then he talked about their progression from making $100,000 a month to $330,000 a month. And I'm sitting next to this guy, and I'm like, I feel like terrible, because here's the thing, is that he was the nicest guy you could imagine, and you had no idea like how much money he makes. Again, like judging a book by its cover. And again, like I'm saying, like it's not just about money. I'm talking about like real people being human beings. Like, okay, so now I'm feeling terrible how I judge this guy. And obviously he's a successful entrepreneur, and however he lives his life outside of business, I have like zero judgment, and I just didn't appreciate what was happening right next to me. So at any rate, we kind of like, we break out into groups throughout the sessions, throughout the days, and we had a group with him, and he started talking about something that I wanted to learn about. So I asked him about it, and he was super generous with information. And then that breakout group got cut short, and I said I'd really like to learn about this. Would you like to talk about this now or after lunch? And he had a really heavy accent. I'd rather not say where he's from in case this video gets rare, very rare. Probably zero possibility, but let's just not say names or where they're from. And he had a really heavy accent, and I don't think he really understood what I said. And he's like, all right, let's talk about it over lunch. And I'm like, this guy wants to go for lunch with me? But I said after lunch. So, but he thought I said, he thought I was inviting him to lunch. I'm almost certain, because otherwise I don't think he would have invited me to lunch. Like, we don't know each other, and like, he doesn't have much to gain from me. I would have had to say, will you have lunch with me? So I'm kind of thinking about this in my head, and we start. So he's like, all right, let's go for lunch. And I said, all right, I'm gonna go use the bathroom. He said, don't worry, we're not gonna leave without you. So anyways, there ends up being about 5 or 6 of us, because he knows other people. I'm like brand new, don't know anyone there really. And so we go for lunch, and I'm sitting next to him and ask him a couple of questions. And very successful individual. Everyone's at different levels. So we're at a table of whatever it was, 5 or 6 people, and everyone, because like he went up there for his award, he went up there and told it like how he successfully was. Like, in my opinion, that's a lot of money in a month. And apparently other people felt the same way, because you want that information from those successful people higher up than you. And so I asked him a few questions, and then other people started asking him questions, and he was super like, how can I say, like, happy to answer questions. He wasn't like annoyed or short. He just answered questions. This is how I do it. This is what you do. This is what I would suggest. And it was like, he was being like, at one point he was like being bombarded with questions, and I like kind of stopped asking questions because I felt bad for him. And then he's like, I think he kind of got tired of it for a moment, because he got up. He's like, I better call the wife so he can have like a break from all the questions. So I just thought that was interesting. So don't judge a book by its cover. And then I feel like when people have a lot of money, like we get this crazy thoughts in our head, like money's the root of all evil, or only people that have a lot of money are crooks. Like, that's what I grew up with, whatever reason that was in my mind, I can't say. But like super kind and generous and giving, and it was just really eye-opening, and I felt like a horrible, I still don't feel comfortable with myself for how I judged him. And then I was like, oh, can I get more information off you? I just don't think like that's the best way to go about life, is like judging people, but which I think is part in human nature, so we have to give ourselves a little bit of grace there, but also just being kind and generous and understanding like these guys are where I want to be. Like, we're growing rapidly and trying to figure things out, and they're already there. They already went through what I went through. So that's something I want to share with you. My next tip is that whatever it is that you want in life, you can pay for that if you're willing to pay for that. Unfortunately, most people aren't willing to pay for that. They're willing to pay their time in hopes to get somewhere, but they're not willing to pay financially. They're not willing to invest in themselves to get themselves there quicker. And I was in this situation. I only started hiring coaches like a year ago, and we've spent a lot of money in coaches in a short amount of time, which is why we've been able to grow substantially in a short amount of time. And so like, we just don't know that, right? Like we just don't know. I talk to a lot of people that have never had a coach, like have never had a fitness coach. They've never had a meal plan, and they struggle with their weight their whole life, and they just didn't really know where to go or what to do. And that's a concern, right? Like, what business coach do I hire? What fitness coach do you hire? But if you're willing to invest in yourself, you can grow so much faster. So like in my situation, like wherever we're at, like let's say financially, because this is a millionaire talk. So wherever we're at financially, these guys that are making $300,000 a month or $100,000 a week, they have been through every single thing that I'm going through now. So that mastermind group was absolutely incredible, learning from them because they're teaching you how to get through these obstacles to the next level. There's always bottlenecks. Every time you get from one level to the next, you run to a bottleneck. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When I played professional baseball, I started out in high school. When I wanted to get to college, ran into a bottleneck, I had to figure out how to get through. Then I got to university, ran into a bottleneck, I had to figure out how to get through. Then I wanted to play at the professional level, so I had to figure out how to get there. But if I had, unfortunately I didn't, but if I had a mentor or coach, that's why you see a lot of guys that play professional baseball, for example, their kids play professional because they're a mentor. They're a built-in mentor. They can teach them how to get there, often very, not so much, not just easier, but quicker, right? So it's the same thing with fitness and your health and nutrition, whatever it is. Like so many of us are like, oh, I'll just figure it out on my own because we don't want to invest. But you're paying one way or the other. You're paying in time or you're paying financially. And for me, I would much rather pay financially to get myself there quicker with whatever it is. And we know what's interesting, hopefully this is another takeaway for you guys. What's interesting is that every one of them had a business coach. That's number one. And often they had another coach in a different area. And I'm not talking about people that were just millionaires. People that were making far less than that have invested in themselves to get them to that point of where we're at. Same thing with me. I invested, and that's how I got in that room. Otherwise, I'd just be starting out, trying to figure out like life and what we're supposed to do with business and how we're supposed to be successful, right? So you invest in yourself, and it's the same thing. Like if you want to expedite your process, whether that be a fitness program or nutrition or health overall, you invest because whoever you hire will have the experience to get you there quicker in a shorter amount of time, more efficiently. And I can't tell you, like I've talked to so many people, and most people spend 20 years trying to figure it out on their own. That's a long time to figure it out on your own before you're willing to invest in yourself. And still, a lot of good majority of people spend 20 years trying to figure it out on their own, and then they still don't want to invest in themselves. And you know what's worse? Here's what's worse is you've been spending 20 years not willing to invest in yourself. Then you find a program that works and where you found success a little bit. It could be 90 days. It could be 6 months. And then you're like, oh, I'm good. I'm going to go do my own thing. And you're like, that'd be the same thing with us, right? Because you can keep improving. You can keep learning from your coaches and mentors. That'd be the same as us. Like we have a business coach. We have mentors. We have a support group. And now that we're at a higher level, I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Thanks. See you later. It's like, don't you want more growth? Don't you want to continue to improve? Okay, my last takeaway here, and you'll note, you'll pick up quickly, it has zero to do with finances. One of our main coaches stood up and he talked about how, like, sorry. Let me give you 2 more points and I'll wrap things up. The first point is the guy that was sitting next to me, $300,000 a month. So the guy's making $3 million a year, almost 4. He asked a lot of questions. Even though he was a bit foggy, he didn't go out the second night. We talked. He was a bit foggy, whatever it was. He was engaged, even though he was struggling. He asked a lot of questions. That's number one. In every presentation, there's a Q&A. I asked a lot of questions too. The guy running the event, he was paying to bring these speakers in. And 2 of the days, he was running around doing other things, but 2 of the days he was sitting in the guy who organized this place, multimillionaire, sitting at the front of the room taking notes. I thought that was eye-opening, like, oh my gosh. The guy that was making $100,000 a week was asking questions. He was only there for 1 day, but the whole time he was there, he was asking the presenters questions. So he did his presentation, and there was 4 or 5 presenters after him. He was asking them all questions. And I'm like thinking, like, if you're making that much money a week, don't you know everything? And you don't, right? You don't. I want to mention one thing about influencers is we're always obsessed about numbers, right? Like, I got to have so many likes. I got to have so many comments, so many followers. And I was talking to a couple people. It probably happened to at least 2 or 3 times. And we talked about, like, we were open about our finances. It was a safe place. There wasn't a whole lot of judgment. I feel like outside, if you talk about someone making that much money, you're judged differently, which I don't really have time to get into at this time. But we openly talked about our finances, how much we were making a month, how many clients we had. And I thought it was interesting that for some of them, I had a quarter of their following. So they would have whatever, they'd have 50,000, 100,000 followers, and they had less clients and were making less money. And I don't say that to like pat myself on the back. I say that because like we're so obsessed with things that don't matter. And this is probably a good segue to my last tip I'm going to leave you here with. And we're so obsessed with like numbers or the little tasks or the things that waste our time. Like, it was just really eye-opening. I looked at their pages and I was like, my gosh, how did you get so many followers? How did you get this? How did you get that? And then someone says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, I was focusing on the wrong thing and it wasn't going to move the needle. Like, sometimes I'll have a coaching call with one of my clients and they're asking a bunch of questions and I'm like, or they're worried about this or worried about that. And I just say, like, you know what? You're overthinking. You're overthinking the process because it doesn't have to be that difficult. Just stick to the plan, stick to the program, do the simple things. We're trying to make everything like fancy and we're trying to make everything perfect. Or like I told you my perspective of like, and there were guys, don't get me wrong, there were guys standing up there with $3,000 suits on, but often you'd sit next to someone and you would think that they were struggling to get by because they don't care about what they're wearing because it doesn't matter. That's not what they're focused on. And my last, and I'm hoping that's helpful for you guys in your nutrition, fitness, lifestyle journey to understand. We work a lot with mindset. We work a lot with progress. And there's a lot of things that matter in life, but most don't. It's like so many people are obsessed with like whatever this meal is, even though they're missing their workouts. Or a lot of people are obsessed with that number didn't drop on the scale. Like this week, I didn't lose any weight, but you maintained what you've lost. You've lost 12 pounds over the last 3 weeks, but you didn't. And so we get obsessed. What am I doing wrong? We're making it complicated in our life. And I feel like if we were to keep things simpler, we would be much more successful. My last story here that I want to share with you. I want to respect your time. I want to keep these around 30 minutes. A guy goes up to the stage and he wins an award because he broke the $500,000 year award. He made $500,000 this year in 12 months. And he it's like, for me, it's like, I always want to know monthly. I don't know why. $40,000 a month. And if you were to put that into context, like a lot of people, like I think in the US, I'm not quite sure in Canada, I think the average is like maybe $40,000 or $50,000 on average a year someone makes. This guy's making that in a month. And listen to me here for a second, because my point is not going to be about finances and that life is about making money. Like he got up there and he said, and I talked to him after. We sent Instagram messages back and forth. He gave me some really good ideas on what I can do with my life. And this is going to be life-changing for us. What I've learned from this guy, this one individual, and he wasn't even a presenter. He works 5 hours a week, 5 hours a day, 5 hours a day. And he made $40,000 a month for 12 months, 12 consecutive months. So you can do that once a month, like once a year, maybe for some people, if they're not consistent, right? This was so eye-opening because another guy did a presentation. This guy that went up there and did a similar presentation, he broke $1 million that year. He won an award for breaking $1 million that year. And he talked about how you're only productive 5 hours of the day and how the rest of the time is wasted time. It's wasted space. So what he said, I spent $20,000 working with some type of psychologist trying to figure this out. The rest of his days is playing video games, spending time with family, snowboarding, and something else that he liked to build keyboards or something like that. And I thought that was so, like, these two conversations, what the main guy told us about, I don't know if I told you that. He told us about how he's struggling with his family life. I don't think I told you that at the beginning, but he's struggling with his family life. His wife, they're going to see, how do you say, psychologist? To work on their relationship because he was putting his family first and it was push. And then this other guy, $500,000 a year, $40,000 a month. And he talked about how if he thought he could handle growing his business and it wouldn't take away from his family, he would. But he said, you know what? I'm in a place right now where I don't want to grow. I don't want to grow because that would take time away from my family and my newborn. and I don't want to do that. And I was just like, wow. When you go to these events, like I've been to plenty. When we lived in LA, we tried to go to as many as possible, as many as we could afford. And it was all about raw, make more money, be more productive, get more clients. And I thought this was the most valuable thing I took away from, because for as long as I can remember, I've worked from when I woke up to when I go to sleep. Of course, there's workouts in between, there's conversations. Sometimes I take a nap, whatever it is. But I've prided myself in working hard from when I wake up to when I go to sleep. And that, like, now we have our own family. And now, we have a 1-year-old, I have a wife, like I have a family, like we need to prioritize our life. And I just thought that was a different perspective of how productive can I be, let's say in 5 hours, and the rest of the day you give to your family. And then scale back and see how much money you can make with limited time, because you're going to be more focused, you're going to be more productive, you're going to be more you need deadlines, so you're going to be able to be more successful in a shorter amount of time. And let me leave you with this, is that's what we're about when it comes to fitness. It's like you should do 30-minute workouts 3 times a week to start. And everyone's variable. Like some people are doing a bit of cardio, some people are doing different splits, 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 2 off. Whatever the split looks like, everyone's doing something a bit different. But I often hear from someone and they get through their 30-minute workout or whatever, and they're like, I don't think that was long enough. What else can I do? What more should I do? And I'm like, nothing. Like, you shouldn't be doing more. All you're doing is cluttering your workout. If you're not getting if you're not getting everything you need in a 30-minute workout, you're not putting in enough time or effort into that specific workout. Or if you are, you need to work on consistency. I'm not talking about Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let's say. I'm not talking about putting 1 week together of 3 days of workouts. I'm not even talking about putting 3 weeks together of 3-day workouts. I'm talking about putting month after month, 6 months, 1 year. That's how you see results. And that has nothing to do with one workout. Like, I worked out really hard this week. Like, how many times? Oh, 1 time. What happened to the other workouts? Oh, I'll get to those next week. Like, that is not what you need to do. You need to be consistent. So for me, I'm like, okay, how consistent can I be at working for 5 hours a day, being as most productive as possible, and then spending that other time with family, which fills my cup and gives me the opportunity to give more. I tell this, always say this to busy moms, women in particular, they're always putting everyone else first and they never have anything for themselves. But when you're drained, exhausted, irritated, moody, no energy, you don't have anything to give. You snap at your kid or your dog because there's nothing left in the tank. But if we did more stuff collectively together, we would be more productive during those times. So that's my biggest takeaway. And I fully plan on time blocking, being more efficient with my time, working less, which makes my wife terribly excited. And that is my number one takeaway, is that how successful can we be without what are you sacrificing? I'm sacrificing time with my family for a few more dollars? It's simply not worth it. I'm going to leave you with that. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you got something out of that. I hope that met your expectations of what it was like to rub elbows with millionaires. And I'm so excited to continue my relationship with these people and have regular conversations like regular people, because it doesn't really matter how much you make. You're a regular person. And as hopefully you've noted, is that what I got most out of that weekend is it has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with what you prioritize. And another part of the presentation was for us as entrepreneurs, we build our life around our business instead of building your business around your life. So now when we work on time blocking, we've already started this. I just got back. We've already started, Dorothy and I have started time blocking what we want to do to be a successful family, to be a successful couple, to have a healthy relationship first, and then start to build in work hours. I'm super excited. It's going to be a whole new world. Like these events are absolutely life-changing. Like, we do have a couple. Like, we have a run coming up with our MAP members, and that's open to the public. If you guys want to join us for a run, to get out there, find some inspiration, excitement, see what other people are doing, you're welcome to join us if you want to do something like that. Then we have our little black dress gala coming up November 25th. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be dancing. We got a DJ. It's going to be music. We got our own presentations. We got our own little speeches. It's not specifically directed for our fitness program, but just to be around people that are excited, happy, and joyful. They want to have a good time, a nice dinner. We'd encourage you to come out and join us and have some fun. Thank you so much. Once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you online soon. Bye, guys.
All right, that's going to wrap things up for this edition of Exploring Mind and Body. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of our True Form Life community. You can always find us on Facebook.com/True Form Life. Life. We post up there a couple times a day on our story. We're always trying to bring you more content around living a healthy lifestyle, whether that be nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, and more. We also have free challenges that we do at least once a month. So if you follow us along there, you'll be able to join maybe a plank challenge or a squat challenge, Tabata challenge, whatever it may be. We'd love to have you join us. We're also on Instagram.com/Drew Taddia. Again, we're posting up there a couple times a day along with our story, all dedicated to keeping you fit and healthy and on track. Our main website is trueformlife.com. If you want to check out some of our products, some of our services, or if you just want some great content from videos to blog posts and recipes and more, we got all that at trueformlife.com. Once again, thank you so much for being here. That's it. That's all I got. I'm out of here. As always, I'm your host, Drew Taddia, in health and fitness for a better world. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Exploring Mind and Body with Trueform Life's Drew Taddia, fitness expert. To find out more about the show, Drew Taddia, or to listen to past shows, visit exploringmindandbody.com.